Good evening, everyone. Welcome along to Apex Online Racing. This is Season 17, brought to you again by our lovely Patreon members. It's a very wet Misano this time round, so we will try and jump on board with the car that is out there first on track and get a bit of an on-board view just while everything gets kicked off and rocking and rolling. See what number it is. It is car number 5, which is Piccolo. So in fact, let's just stay above here while they're on their out lap, and let's have a quick run through the championship as it stands. So it has been a fairly tight old championship this time round, but here we go. Right, Jones is leading the championship with 311 points. Chris Southcott in third place with 250. Schroeder with 241 in third place, Kazantis in fourth, Lynn in fifth, Belscheit in sixth, seventh is Delabra, Benjamin King in eighth, Piccolo ninth, and Misak in 10th place in the championship. So it is still very much all up for grabs, plenty of space, 2 races left to go after this, so going to be very interested to see what people can do in this very, very wet Misano. It was super nail-biting stuff last night in Tier 1. And if anything, Tier 2 will provide the same amount of excitement, if not more. So lots of young stars looking to rise up through the ranks. So should be some pretty good stuff here this evening. As you can see, incredibly wet. And we will now jump onto the dashboard of the McLaren as it sets its first flying lap. This is going to be the benchmark set. You can see just how wet it is out there. Super slow through the first few corners. In fact, I don't even know if that is fully on the throttle. Is this even going to be a flying lap? I'm not entirely sure. I think he's got traffic in front of him. That seemed to be very, very sedate. He's just trying to get the tyres up to temperature a little bit more. Just avoiding the sausage curbs on the outside edge of the circuit there. We saw lots of action here last night as well. The outside, that sort of racing line's got a fair bit of grip, but the inside where people try and go for overtakes, it's very, very slippery there. Again, this part of the circuit coming up on the right-hand side. You have to be very careful not to end up cutting across. That will get you an instant disqualification if you end up joining the circuit too far around the corner. But now onto the back straight. Again, another place where lots of people fell foul to aquaplaning here last night, or just trying to push over those wet curves a little bit too much, losing traction and rotating round. Staying on board still that little bit longer, down into this double apex braking zone. Big chunk of inside curb. Surprisingly, the McLaren looking very, very well put together here in the wet. This might be the benchmark, but I don't think this is going to be the fastest lap. I think it's a case of just trying to get the tyres switched on a little bit better in that car. And final sprint to the line. So this will be the benchmark we're going to see, but I imagine it is going to be beaten to 1:43.9 is what we just saw there. And we'll have to wait and see what people can do, if anyone can come along and improve on that time. I can almost guarantee we will see some improvements. Just jumping on with Lynn for now. That lovely GTR swimming its way. Again, it looks quite sedate and calm at the moment, but when you've suddenly got 30 plus cars all absolutely pounding around right next to each other, that is when it gets proper exciting. Lots of cars still yet to have set a lap. And Piccolo actually still holding on to pole position at the moment. Just trying to see if... I think Lynn is still actually on his out lap at this point. He's got no previous lap set, so maybe this isn't the one to keep an eye on. Who is on big improvements? We've got people jumping into the top 10 as we speak. More and more cars slowly setting times. Piccolo's still holding on to his pole position at the moment. Let's have a jump on board with Schroeder, actually. Who's just about to come onto that flying back straight. lovely black Porsche. Currently second place on the grid, but he is half a second up on his Delta, so this should be a big improvement. Lovely to hear that Porsche screaming its way down the back straight. Keeps it under control. I almost wonder if maybe that rear engine is maybe just helping with this wet traction. A bit more weight over the tyres, just allowing it to bite through the wet. That a little bit better. One corner left to go, and he is way up on his time. This should be a big improvement. This might be the first driver into the 142s. Comes across the line. And Schroeder is a 143.3, so a little bit of time there lost just coming around those last few corners, but that is a nice improvement and finds himself up in pole position. Immediately knocked down by Southcott. And is Southcott going to continue on? Yes, he is. We'll stay with Southcott for a minute, our fastest driver. So who is on big improvements? Zalovic. Let's jump on board. Oh, we've got yellow flags out in one of the sectors there. I think that's people maybe looking for a bit more track space. Oh, car number 88. Sorry, the 888 car. Lost a big chunk of time then. Well, that's the old commentator's curse coming into effect. But yeah, probably not what they would have wanted. That is a big loss of time. They're coming across the line now. They were in 11th. And they jump up just that one position up to 10th. Yeah, lots of time lost at that point. Right, Bigelow on a big flyer now, nearly a second improvement, 0.8 up on his Delta. With one corner left to go, this should be a huge jump up the order. If this is a clean lap, this has been an absolute monstrous lap to be able to put in. Obviously got the tyres switched on. And yes, 143.007. That's a big jump up the order. That is one mega benchmark to set. Vujanovic now, just about to go onto that back straight. Let's jump on board the BMW, get a bit of an idea of what it's like when there's cars in front of you as well. He's obviously got one of the McLarens running in front of him. Hexagon Nation, car number 223. And you can see, even when it's one single car in front of you, the extra spray that comes off the car does make such a difference. Oh, what a big slide. He was up on his time, but that's a big slide, and that will be the end of that qualifying lap. He's holding the brakes, but he's going to have to jump out of the way pretty soon. Other cars having to go into full avoidance. About 7 minutes of qualifying left. Right, let's jump on board with the Flosh. The BF Racing AMR. That lovely Aston Martin as he wings his way down the first sort of little straight section of circuit. Again, this is that hard left-hander that we were saying about earlier on. It was very slippery on the inside edge, so trying to maintain that traction, trying to keep the pace up as well, all the way around the outside. Nicely done. This double apex, plenty of opportunities for different overtaking moves here, although in the wet it does get a little bit challenging. But there are opportunities to try and throw yourself down the inside. We are looking at a podium finish, I think, here in qualifying, if he can maintain this pace. 0.6 up on his Delta. So we're looking very close. 16 cars within a second of each other at the moment, and still just under 6 minutes of qualifying left to go, so plenty of time for people to make improvements. Well, car number 707 just whipped itself back to the pits pretty quickly. Right, throwing it in. What can be done? What will this time be? Comes across the line. That's a whopping great time. Up into second place. The Aston Martin obviously feeling fairly comfortable. Right, let's have a quick look at our championship leader, and that is Jones for Jones' team. Currently in 4th on the grid, but is improving on his time. Throwing it in again. Here we go. Onto that back straight. Well, car number 998 as well. We just saw a yellow flag out for that one. Let's jump on the dash of the Aston Martin. Absolutely screaming its way through the back end of the circuit right now. Lovely V8 rumbling along. It's one of those cars that I've tried to drive a fair few times, but I just cannot get past the window supports. They are just far too distracting, and even from us here now on the dashboard, you think all we're doing is observing, and you can see just how much of the circuit is blocked off by those things. I imagine after time you just get used to them, but not for me, I'm afraid. Right, Jones running in 5th as he comes across the line. What are we going to see? Well, he actually dropped to 6th and then immediately took 5th place back, so a very slight improvement for him. Just managing to hold on to his position, but oh, there we go. There's a big old one. Schroeder, as we were keeping an eye on him earlier on, is the first driver to properly dip his way into the 142s. That is a 142.8. That is the kind of, to be honest, the kind of pace we were seeing yesterday in Tier 1. So obviously on an absolute flyer at the moment. Jumping back to Piccolo, who was running in 2nd place at the moment. But he is up on his time, and it should be enough if he can maintain this to take away pole position again. 3 3/4 minutes left to qualifying. There's still time for people to try and make things work. The conditions have stayed fairly static. It's just been a constant amount of wetness out there. What can he do? He is still up on his time. 0.3 up on his time. 0.4 as he came into that final corner. What's the run on the exit going to be like? Is it good enough to hold on and take away first position? Here we go. It comes across the line. Yes, it is a 142.5. So I wonder if maybe the track is just starting to improve that little bit and just making people feel a little bit more comfortable. Right, on board with Ryan O'Sullivan now. 0 Point Racing. Running in 7th place at the moment, but some fairly decent improvements on his time. Trying to see if there's anyone else further down the grid who is on big improvements. 33 cars out there this evening, so you can only imagine how insanely close it is going to be all through the beginning of this race. Robert Arlavi actually is on a big improvement. That is a driver to keep an eye on. Currently in 22nd place, but nearly half a second up on his lap, so he should jump up a fair old bit. Staying where we are for now, though. O'Sullivan still 0.3 up. He's got 1 corner left to go. Nearly half a second up. He found loads of time in that final sector. This should be a good jump. What are we going to get as he comes across the line? Up into 2nd place. So it is now Piccolo, Sullivan, followed by Schroeder. Drivers on big ones. Drivers on big laps. Let's try and find them. Ben Milden for Sector Blitz Racing. Running in 21st place at the moment. 0.3 up on his delta time. You know what, we haven't been on board a Mustang yet this evening. Let's jump on the dash. That lovely Mustang. Following around the rest of the lap. Still finding time out there. I think the Mustang almost struggling to put all that power down. Maybe a bit of a short shift as he did the exit of the corner just to try and keep the car as grounded as possible, trying to maintain the traction, throws it in, decent chunk of inside curb there, all the way out to the left-hand side before throwing it back in, avoided the painted stuff on the inside then. Still big improvements, 0.6 up on his time. This should really jump him up the order if he can hold this together. He's obviously on an absolute push lap, a little bit squirrely there as he went through. Hopefully that hasn't lost him too much exit speed. Still way up on his time. And now it's foot absolutely nailed to the boards. He was in 23rd place. What is going to happen when he comes across the line? How big of an improvement? Up into 13th place. 10 places gained. That was a huge jump up the order. Right. Jumping on with Chris Southcott for McLaren Racing. Currently in 4th place, but improving. He's 0.3 up on his delta. Still fairly early on in the lap. So a little way to go. Oh no, completely wrong. He's quite near the end of the lap. He's in Sector 3. 1 corner left to go now. Going to throw it into this left-hander. Very easy to wash wide out onto those sausage curbs, but he keeps it nice and clean. But he lost a lot of time there and actually isn't improving this time round. And all the while he didn't improve, Schroeder is improving. So, qualifying coming to an end now. So, anyone that is on a lap, this is their final chance. Car number 11, I think, is going to be the final car to be able to actually set a flying lap. So Piccolo has crossed the line and finished. Sullivan has crossed the line and finished. Sorry, O'Sullivan. So Schroeder is the driver out there that has an opportunity to increase, and he's way, way up on his time. This is definitely the one to keep an eye on. Southcott taking a tenth or so out of his lap. But here comes Schroeder, one final corner to go. Is it going to be enough? He's going to be super close. It depends how good his exit is. Should be enough to at least gain one position. And yes, he takes away that second spot, and he'll be very pleased with that. Right, Southcott still improving. See if there's anyone further down the grid who is on big improvements at this time. Most people seem to have sort of levelled off a fair bit. They've got Jokic, who's running in 29th place, who is on a big improvement, and he's actually very close to the end of the circuit. Another one of the screaming Mustangs, 0.6 up on his lap. This is a big, big improvement. He's left that right to the last minute to find these big increases in time. Sam Maudsley as well, who actually was up on his lap time and is just flicking between it. So Jokic comes across the line, gets himself above the 23rd place. He'll be pretty happy with that one. Do we have anyone else up there? There we go. Brian Anderson for AOR 17. Car number 707 comes across the line, was in 14th place, finds himself up into 7th. So there we go. That is the end of qualification. So at the moment, as things stand, it is Piccolo, Schroeder and Sullivan on those first 3 spots on the grid. So we should be going over to the race start in just a few minutes. Just waiting just a few minutes, just so we can get everything up and running and everyone can get themselves those last few checks before going onto the grid. And here we are onto the grid now. Absolutely lovely stuff. Let's grab a different camera, get a nice little view. There's a few that I can choose from this time round, and I'm sure there was one that, yes, there it is. That's the one we wanted. Right, let's run through the grid order as it stands. So, pole position, Piccolo. Second place is Schroeder. O'Sullivan in 3rd. Southcott 4th. Jones in 5th. LaFloche in 6th position. Anderson in 7th. Benjamin King 8th place. Mathiasen 9th. Belscheit in 10th. Urbanech in 11th place. Robert Arlavi 12th. Vajolovic in 13th place. Ben Milden running in 14th place. That is a good qualification for that driver. He'll be very happy with that. Chirich in 15th place with the absolutely best livery of all time. So glad to see the Love Live Nico Yazawa livery. It's nice and tight on the top end of the grid. Paulo Lima in 16th place. Zitek in 17th. Alderman in 18th. Izalovic in 19th place, Amir in 20th, Azami in 21st place, Kazantis 22nd, Jokic in 23rd, Lin 24th, Skugel in 25th, Athenstad in 26th, Zoricic in 27th, Shekerman 28th, Delebra 29th, Zile in 30th, Maudsley in 31st, Oliver Braun in 32nd, and rounding out the grid is Nani in 33rd place. A lot of cars out there this evening. As you can see, it's wet, and it is going to continue to get wetter and wetter, so it's going to be pretty interesting stuff, I think. Just about 2 minutes until we get the race underway, so we've been through the championship order as it stands for the individuals. Let's have a quick look as well at the team. So absolutely dominating at the moment is the Gremsim Argonauts 2 with 294 points. And then Kawadi Racing with 197 and the Boatley Boys with 189. So a 97-point gap. Absolutely flying away is the Gremsin Argonauts. Back to the individual. At the moment, Jones still leading the championship with a 61-point advantage going into this. So realistically, if Southcott wants to try and get a decent finish, he really needs to finish in front of Jones. And he's probably going to be sort of fingers crossed that maybe Jones gets caught up in something a little bit. In 5th place, though, so not too many cars in front of him, but yes, turn 1, 2, and 3 here at Misano, especially in the wet, can be very exciting. We'll say that to say that we'll just put it gently that it can be quite exciting. Had quite a few incidents in the Tier 1 race yesterday, lots of penalties and lots of in-game generated penalties as well for track limits abuse, and we actually got a disqualification for speeding in the pit lane. So fingers crossed drivers can keep themselves up together. Obviously 60 minutes of racing, 1 mandatory pit stop, no refueling allowed. So it is a case of the cars will probably get faster in that second stint. So 25 seconds to go until we start our formation lap. You can just hear a couple of the cars now starting to fire up and get ready. Dropping down off the jacks. And you see that little wiggle as they kind of drop down. But Piccolo will be very happy with that qualification. That was a seriously good lap, a really good time. So here we go. This is the beginning of the outlap. So 1 chance to get a bit of heat into the brakes, a little bit of heat into the tyres as well. It's going to be very difficult to try and get that much heat into them simply because of just how wet it is. Schroeder has obviously dialed back the traction control in an attempt to try and get some temperature into those rear tyres. I imagine most of these drivers will be riding the brakes, trying to get those brakes nice and hot, let it soak through the wheels into the tyres, try and get them in that right temperature zone. Obviously the fact that it is wet, but it is variable wet. So it isn't just a case of, oh yeah, I know exactly how to get the car set up and be perfect. So it might be interesting to see, depending on how much wetter the circuit gets, whether people's tyre pressures end up in the right kind of zone, and whether or not people are going to be adjusting them as we go into the second stint. Obviously all adjustable. Not much weaving and going from our 2 front drivers, to be fair. Piccolo and Schroeder just kind of taking it steady, just driving on the brakes. You can see just a little bit of acceleration and a dab of the brakes. All the while, O'Sullivan absolutely weaving and going like mad, trying to get temperature into the tyres. Just having a quick look here. I think this might be O'Sullivan's first race with us. I'm pretty sure he was a Tier 3 driver that has been dominating Tier 3, and so they brought him up with us. I'm pretty sure that is the case. So what a way to have your first race in Tier 2 to get yourself up onto the podium on qualifying. Lovely drone shot. You can see all the cars still making their way around the circuit. The back of the grid still nowhere near. Just seeing in the chat here, a couple of people shouting out to Ben Milden as well, seeing a shout out there, and then yeah, saying he was definitely promoted. So yeah, there we go, a promoted driver from Tier 3 up to Tier 2, looking to make a bit of a name for himself in this first race. As they obviously no chances really of winning the championship as he joins Tier 2 and loses all of his previous points. But it is now, it's a case of showing just what he is capable of. So car number 14, that Aston Martin, but 0 Point Racing, should be pretty interesting stuff to see how it goes. So we are waiting now, 1 corner left to go. Cars stacked up side by side. They will fall into formation. And we now round the final corner. I imagine most cars will be on the actual main straight as the race begins. Here we are, waiting for round 5 to begin here at Misano. And who's going to get the best start? That's a really strong start for Schroeder. It almost looked like he was almost in front as they came off the line. So Schroeder straight up in there, and as well as Southcott. Southcott now gets himself up into second place, already challenging for first. Big move by Southcott. Oh, and there's a big bump, and there's more, and there's still more. I think it's just about settled down. Not what we would have wanted to see. There's cars absolutely stacked up everywhere at the moment, but they've managed to make it through. I would say, as far as things go, that wasn't too bad. Benjamin King obviously was involved in that and lost a load of time. Chris Southcott now holds on to pole position, followed by Schroeder. So Southcott really was the big winner in all of that, and I think it sadly was O'Sullivan that may have been the cause of that one. Car number 11 as well with a yellow flag, and car number 74. And that's Jokic off the circuit, rejoining there, waiting for a safe opportunity to do so. But the beginning of the race, it could have been messier, but it could have been a lot tidier than that. So Ryan O'Sullivan has dropped down to 5th place. Obviously, he had that rear end moment, and he did get on the brakes to try and avoid the incident further, but I think it almost unexpectedly braking at that part of the circuit. I think other cars behind maybe weren't expecting there to be such a slow car in the middle, but we'll have to wait and see. Obviously, no live stewards here this evening. It is all done post-race, so we'll have to wait and see what happens. We'll find out before next week what's going on. If you're very interested in it, you can jump onto apexonline.racing, and you can watch as incidents roll in. You can see how they're being dealt with. So do feel free, and also obviously a good opportunity to sign up and join the community if you feel like it. Another great thing to do is obviously join the Discord if you fancy getting involved with all the different chats and bits and pieces. There's lots of the drivers from all across the tiers, all interacting with each other, sort of giving advice and generally giving each other a little bit of stick from time to time. But that is what racing is all about. It's a nice close community that likes to have a good laugh as well. And obviously, if you're feeling really generous, you can sign up for the Patreon as well, as that is all that keeps Apex online is the lovely Patreon members. You also get the opportunity to vote on some of the circuits as well, the upcoming season. So if you fancy getting in, really punishing the drivers when it comes to season 18, then by all means you can fully get involved in that. So at the moment, most people seem to have just settled in slightly. Southcott with a huge lead over Jones at the moment. Jones all the way down in 7th place, just looking at him now. And obviously got Southcott up in pole position. Mr. Jones is well off his time. I think maybe there might have been an incident there, because he is 6.8 seconds apparently down on his best time, so he might have missed what happened there. But at the moment, championship leader is not having the race he probably would have wanted. Right, jumping back, we've got Vujolovic versus Ciric. And Ciric tries to go around the outside. He's going to the inside for turn 2. Can the Porsche get there? It's just about trying to hold on to it. They're still side by side. Not quite any contact between them. Ciric still trying to hold on to it. We've now also got Zetec as well starting to join in. Oh, big old jump there. I hope that was hopefully something on my end and not something going on in the actual race server itself. For the moment, Vujolovic holds on to the position, and Ciric is scrabbling around the back, looking for an opportunity to get past the BMW. In fact, let's jump on that rear wing, looking back. Ciric, pretty good under brakes there, throws it in. The BMW a little bit better off the corner that time, though. Be interesting to see how these two cars stack up when they end up going onto the back straight through the double apex. There's a much wider line in from Ciric, and that's possibly going to give him a better run on the exit. What can he do? It didn't appear to be able to get anything done straight away, but that might be just enough speed to hold on to the back of the BMW and then maybe go for a bit of a run down the back end. He's going to be in the slipstream the whole way. Now has a little look to the inside, but coming off the racing line is going to be super wet and slippery. Not many places to try and make anything really work here. Misano, one of those circuits where you usually have to be pretty brave and throw it down the inside, and obviously in these wet conditions that is becoming super difficult. And another little move going on here, and I think there's just caught that one as we went to it, and there's an incident going on. We'll go back 10 seconds to try and see what's happening here. So Aston Martin to the inside. He was as far as he could go, and then Lynn caught once, caught twice. And, oh, okay, so we're only 5.5 minutes into the race, and Zeal has already picked up a drive-through penalty, and that will be for track limit infringements. So really hasn't taken long to pick up a penalty. So they've got to do their one mandatory stop, and then also got to do another pit stop as well. There's I'm not sure if it is something on my end or the entire server, but yeah, there definitely is something a little bit squirrely about the cars this evening. Don't look quite as planted as normal. As far as I'm aware, everything is all good on my end hardware-wise, so if there is any wobbles, it's possibly a good old Southwest Internet throwing a bit of a wobble. Right, Jones. He is having a little bit of a look at the back of the Flosh, but I think the main thing really is Belshite, who is right up the back of him. There is nothing between them. In fact, they might even start to overlap as they come down through here. It's going to be super brave. Nobody wants to get involved in an incident, but you have to keep pushing to try and gain an advantage. And a big slide from Jones. A lot of exit speed lost there. But luckily it was part of the circuit where there wasn't too much he could do. And actually, Belshite now loses a bit of ground. Managed to defend the position from Urbanech, but that was very close. I think the fact that the big slide from Jones and then trying to look for a bit of circuit that was clear, and Jones makes another mistake, and he's going backwards. I think Ben Milden is going to be the next driver to be coming up on Jones. He's immediately looking to the inside. Who's going to be bravest on the brakes? They're very close together. Ben Milden just about manages to stop the Mustang from making any kind of contact. That 111 Sector Blitz Racing Mustang. The battle going on behind them as well for Jonovic and Chirich still side by side. Oh, they dip back in behind. But Jones currently is going backwards. As well, yeah, just seeing people saying about the weird glitch that gets you track cut penalties near the pit exit. Yeah, there is a bit of a weird one going on here. But I will say we got lots and lots of them last night in Tier 1 as well, so I wouldn't just put it down to the glitch. I think lots of drivers in the wet just ending up making little mistakes and going out wide. It's very easy to pick up multiple at a time here at Misano. Right, squabbles going on further back. We've got Skugel versus Athenstad versus Morsley, and then Piccolo, who is recovering obviously from that lap 1, turn 3/4 incident. Piccolo will be really upset about that because obviously great qualification, started in pole position, lost 2 positions immediately and then was collected. Obviously post-race penalties will be put into place, but that doesn't help him right now in the middle of the race whatsoever. So right out the front, Southcott absolutely flying away for absolutely huge lead, over 3 seconds. Anderson running in 2nd place now with car number 707, and then Schroeder running in 3rd place. Mathiasson very, very closely followed by O'Sullivan. Again, O'Sullivan obviously out here trying to make sure he can do his best in Tier 2, trying to carry on dominating the way he was in Tier 3. But obviously that slight incident early on in the race is not what he would have wanted. Right, there's a little move going on further back here as well. So car number 915, and that is Lafloche versus Belshite. These two proper squabbling it out, not a lot between them. 2 identical cars other than setups. So whose car feels the most confident? And while these two are squabbling it out, Urbanech looking to try and take advantage. Mr. Jones appears to have found a bit more comfort in that car. As we saw last night, actually, what we did find is a couple of people were saying that once they kind of had a bit of a moment and they weren't feeling that comfortable with the car, they then really struggled to get themselves back up to pace and flying. And then here we go, here goes Piccolo down the inside. Well, I really wish we could try and actually see what happened there a little bit better. We're going to jump back 10 seconds, see if we can catch it, because we saw that was Athenstad get proper squarely out on the painted stuff. He was just trying to run as quickly as he possibly could, and as you saw, he got proper out of shape. He managed to hold on to it. Fair play for managing to keep the Ferrari going in the right direction at that time, because that was some proper heart and mouth stuff. And a big slide there from Belshite, and so for all the effort he was pushing forward, he then lost a load of ground. It's half the issue here. You find you can catch up with the car in front of you, but then you start to get into the aero wash coming off the car in front. But there's a mistake from LaFloche. These cars absolutely giving it 11 tenths at the moment. Car number 915 and car 69 really putting on quite a display for us. Plenty of brown pat moments for both of these drivers. They are absolutely going at it. And Belshite is pecking away at the back of LaFloche like a seagull of in-bag, just slowly taking small bits out and then hoping to possibly break through and get all the goodies and take away that position. He will want 6th place, obviously feeling like he is the quicker driver, and again looking to the inside, but the two cars so incredibly equal due to the fact that they are both Aston Martin, so there's no real weak spots between them. It's all coming down to placing your car in just the right place, getting that better drive. Right, Mathiasson versus O'Sullivan. And I thought O'Sullivan was going to look to the inside there, but not quite able to. So Mathiasson for Hex Racing, the brightest of all the Ferraris. He is on the outside though, and O'Sullivan goes to the inside, but a little bit deep, so actually doesn't manage to hold on to the position. He held on to it for about 20 yards, and then through came Mathiasson. Mathiasson obviously knew he was braking as late as anyone possibly could, and in fact if he can just hold O'Sullivan back a little bit longer, then that means LaFloche and Belshite can start attacking the back of him, and that will start to slow him down if he has to go defensive. But a good run off the corner by O'Sullivan there. Further back down the grid, Azalovic versus Kazantis, the 888 Ferrari versus the 82 Lexus. Great to see a Lexus out there still. Obviously is due to the fact that we are not using the standard balance of performance that ACC runs. We are using our own custom one, which means we get lots and lots of cars that are usually maybe a little bit out of date, we could say, that are still fully able to be competitive. And there you go, one of the Crimson Argonaut cars as well. Let's see if we can jump on board the dash of the Lexus as they fly down the back half of the circuit, and you can see it's got a decent run. He actually had to lift there at the apex. He knew he was catching up with the Ferrari in a spot where he knew that only really could stick to the racing line, but you can see just how little visibility you have when you're closely following a car behind. It is absolutely hammering it down at the moment. The circuit is basically flooded. The only car that would feel anywhere near at home, of course, is the Boatley. Schroeder into the pits, car number 92, so obviously deciding an early pit stop is the way to go. And you can just see how quickly, even with the rain light on, how quickly the cars in front of you just vanish into the mist. It's so easy to sort of make silly little mistakes from time to time, simply due to the fact that cars just seemingly vanish out the way. Oh, there we go. So Piccolo with the drive-through, and we also saw Maudsley as well there with the drive-through. Maudsley is actually retired from the race with that one, so a bit of a shame there. But Piccolo, who obviously was going absolutely great guns in qualifying, has now gone into the pits. He's doing his drive-through by the look of it. And another one of these drivers for Lion Speed X Herberth, Benjamin King, looking to get himself back up the order after obvious early on incidents. Well, there has been a change of position here. Can we catch it if we go back? Yes, side by side. So finally, Belshite manages to get himself past LaFloche. Just about does it and holds onto that back straight. So now it's a case of can he maintain this pace and keep the position. Hopefully it's not going to switch back by the time we get to the live footage again. But I'm glad we went back and watched that little moment. Nope, but now he's holding on to it. Mathiasson has jumped into the pits, obviously feeling the pressure from O'Sullivan, deciding that it was better to jump into the pits, get an early pit done, and see how it goes. Obviously, the tyres will be a little bit more worn by the end of the race, but he might come out into nice clean air and be able to put in some decent times using that undercut. Right, jumping back, Azami for Spirax Gaming. Car number 28, currently under siege from Churich. But Churich gets a little bit wobbly there on the exit, nearly leaves himself open. And Amir now looks to the inside. Can Amir do anything under the braking here? He's got to be pretty brave stuff. No, he can't. Decides to bail out of it. This is becoming a three-way battle, and obviously Churich was a little bit further up earlier on, so he has lost a couple of places. Near the front. At the moment, Southcott has absolutely monstered away over 4.5 seconds gap, so really showing just how quick that car can be. Good to see the McLaren going well here, actually, in the wet as well. We saw the Honda go very nicely here last night, so it's good to see the McLaren is also capable of doing such things. Churich maybe a little bit deep in there, not quite able to get the line out he would have wanted. Such different cars as well, these two. The Porsche, obviously rear engine, rear wheel drive. The Aston Martin, obviously front engine rear wheel drive, so quite a difference in how these cars can perform. The weight bias on them as well, absolutely wildly opposite. Trying to spot if there's any close ones going on. Oh, there is actually going on, and what happened there? Let's go back and see what's going on. So this is with Piccolo. I believe that is a recovering Piccolo and Zyle. We saw Piccolo do a drive-through penalty earlier on for track limits abuse. I can only presume that's what it would have been for. And so what happens here? Is there contact between them? I don't think so. No, there isn't. There wasn't contact. It was a case of car number 97 just went a little bit deep into the corner. And that has allowed Piccolo to go through. Right, back up to this little squabble going on here. So, Flosh, Urbanech, Jones, and then also Ben Milden has joined the back of this battle pack. Quite a nice little squabble just going on for 5th place at the moment. Jump up to the drone cam. Get a bit of an overview as well as they're now starting another fresh lap. O'Sullivan has now set the fastest lap of the race. So O'Sullivan has just set a 1:42.125. Lots of drivers settling into their positions. Just shy of 20 minutes of the race done now. So starting to come towards what would sort of technically be sort of a 20-minute window where people generally would pit sort of middle of the race, trying to optimise tyres. As we saw last night, we were expecting people to be setting faster times in the second stint. Right, here we go. Little battle going on here. Churich looks to the inside. Can't get it done on Azami. Yes, he can. Possibly. He's got to try and run around the inside. Can he get the traction? Looking at that weight over the rear wheels, giving him just enough of a run. And he does get past Azami. And does get it done. I think that's the only time I've seen someone get a better run off the inside of the corner and covers it off quite nicely as well, stopping Azami being able to get a decent run onto the back straight. So Churich should be very pleased with that one. Desperate to hold on to it now. Gets himself up one position, up into 10th place. So this sort of second pack of cars now, these cars have pitted. So of the cars that have pitted, we've got Schroeder, Mathiasen, Zetec. Oh, big slide from both drivers there. That was a proper bit of sideways moment. How on earth they both managed to slide and then both managed to hold it, I'm not entirely sure. The lights are finally on, though, on the Zetec car. For we bros, good to see those lights are finally on, because early on in the race, they were not illuminated, and it had to be said it was quite difficult to see. Jones is into the pits now. And another huge, huge slide from the Porsche. Loses not just one, but 2 positions there. Trying to get himself back up onto speed. Oh, and Schroeder has picked up a drive-through penalty. So he was the leading pitted car, but Schroeder will be very disappointed in that. The track limits are out in force this evening. It really is a case of you can throw away an absolutely amazing lead pretty quickly, and Schroeder will be kicking himself about that one, obviously looking to try and make the most of his time in clean-ish air, but it has not worked. He's just pushed that little bit too hard and now finds himself having to do a drive-through penalty. And I do apologise if there has been any sort of stuttering or anything on the stream. For whatever reason, dropped a whole bunch of frames, which is the first time in a very long time we've had drop frames. But, so apologies if you are watching along at home and suddenly thought to yourself, good lord, what is going on the screen? Yeah, a little bit of a moment there, it turns out. Right, jumping back on with our leader for the moment. So, Southcott still out there, setting fairly decent times. 1:42.4 was his last lap. 1:42.1 is his best. He's got Brian Anderson running in second place. Ryan O'Sullivan running in third. He's obviously got back markers in front of him at the moment, so that will not be helping his lap times. Belshite running in fourth, and then the Flosh running in fifth, very closely followed by Urbanetch. Urbanetch still looking to try and find a way past, but there's just a bit too big of a gap between them at the moment for any real sort of hot battles to be sprouting up. Further back though, I think we might have just missed the overtake. Let's go back 30 seconds and see if we can find it. So a full 30 seconds back. Was there a moment for the Ferrari in front? Because it's showing Benjamin King all on his own. Oh yeah, so we had cars going off in front. We missed that on the live cameras. And that is a recovering Triple Eight car who tried to move back across the defend, but it was too late. Benjamin King was already there in the 998 to take full advantage and push on through. Kazantis has picked up a drive-through penalty now as well. And so lots of penalties starting to roll in. Not even at the halfway mark in the race, and the entire field is being picked apart by these drive-through penalties. They will keep coming. There is no escaping them. Zoricic, Evolution Sim Sport car number 175. 10th place at the moment. Obviously hasn't completed his pit stop yet, but keeping himself out of trouble. The car appears to be fairly damage-free. Let's jump back to Mr. Jones, who is our leading driver. Oh, car number 33 we've just seen a yellow flag out for. That is Nani. What happened there? Let's go up to the drone cam. So he was super deep onto the corner before the big back straight. He's still got a tiny overlap from what I believe is Delurbre. Tries to go around the outside. Ends up on the painted stuff. What can he do here? Comes back to the inside. Tries to cut the nose off of Delabra, but there wasn't really anywhere for them to go. 2 into 1 will not go. And for some reason, drivers of race cars just refuse to learn that basic maths. So yeah, now Delabra is dropped down to 29th place and Nani in 26th. And now both those cars obviously carrying damage as well, so that is not what either of them would have wanted. Obviously, no one is out there trying to cause issues, but it does happen. LaFloche into the pits now. Oh, we saw a very brief yellow flag. Which car was that? That was CTEC, I think. So I wonder if that's a case of they've returned to the pits, because we did have them very briefly, but then they vanished away. So little battle continuing to go on here now. Car number 33 being swamped by car number 998, much like the weather itself. That is obviously Benjamin King, who is on an absolute push to try and get back up the order, try and make some kind of improvements. CFR Racing of Nani, sorry, CFR Racing team, driven by Nani. Car number 33 is just about holding on to the position for now, and King now starting to find himself being pestered. Oh, and our leader comes into the pits, so Southcott coming into the pits. He actually had caught up to the back of those guys, and so I think he's probably jumping into the pits to not lose any track time. It's better to jump into the pits and get your stop done quickly now than stay out there and then possibly lose time simply than getting stuck behind people. We're fairly spread out at the moment. Brian Anderson, car number 707, has taken over the lead of the race for now. It would have to be an absolutely insane pit strategy for him to be able to gain anything, I think, via the pit stops, though. But he jumped on board with one of the fan favourites, Scoogle, for the I Love My Fiancé. Number 612, currently running in 9th place, hasn't done his pit stop yet, but still out there setting fairly decent times. A little bit down on his lap last time round, so whether that's a bit of a mistake. Lots and lots of cars in the pits at the moment. This little squabble still going on. King, Delabra and Nani. Obviously, even when you qualify right near the front of the grid and then you find yourself further back, due to the tier system, it is not easy to climb your way back up through. Say the tier system here, Apex Online Racing, sort of provides you with properly close racing. Doesn't matter if you are in tier 1 all the way down to tier 10. There is close racing to be had. So if you're watching along at home and thinking to yourself, oh, I do fancy getting involved in racing, but I'm nowhere near as quick as these guys, it does not matter. It does not matter. There will be a tier where you are appropriately placed. So lots of different tiers to choose from, to get placed into. You don't get to choose yourself. Obviously you could argue it after the fact and sort of say, I'm much too quick, I'd like to be moved up, or I'm much too slow, I'd like to be moved down. Very rare that you get moved down mid-season, but you do occasionally get moved up, as we saw from O'Sullivan this time round. Right, where has Southcott come out? Whereabouts in amongst the madness is he? So he is still our leading pitted driver, which is obviously what we kind of expected anyway. But he's in fairly clean air. He's got Piccolo not that far in front of him. Obviously, Piccolo hasn't pitted yet. a bit bittersweet, really. I imagine Piccolo probably is looking at his heads-up display and thinking to himself, that should have been me where Southcott is. It should have been me squabbling it out close. But that is the way the dice roll sometimes, and they do not always roll in your favour. So motorsport can be a very cruel mistress indeed. So O'Sullivan is actually past Anderson. We missed that one. Apologies about that one. But O'Sullivan did manage to make his way past Anderson on the road. Ben Milden into the pits from 4th. All kind of levelling off a little bit, sort of waiting for everyone to complete their pit stops. Then finally the timing board can sort itself out. About 28.5 minutes left of racing left to go here. Still this continued battle. In fact, we've lost one of the drivers from this. Nani has dropped back behind Benjamin King now. Typically, as soon as we move away from that battle, they've immediately had a quick bit of a switch round. So Benjamin King now on an absolute flyer, trying to get away. Oh, and then off in the background, I think that was Shackerman we just saw go for a bit of a wander off. Let's go back and see what happened there. Oh, it was way, way wide of the apex. Just didn't get the car turned in. Super out wide. Managing to keep it together. Right, whole bunch of cars in the pits now. Ben Milden, Jokic and Piccolo as well. So Ben Milden just leaving the pits. Let's jump on board and see where he has come out. So he now finds himself in front of, I believe that is the Hex Ferrari. So we'll wait for the timing board to do its thing. I think that is Mathiasson he finds himself in front of. So he actually, I believe, has gained a position through the pit stops. Let's see if we can look over the rear wing as we look back towards car number 171 of Mathiasson. A little bit squirrely there, but managed to keep it together. Nothing too wild and crazy. Urbanech, car number 46, has set the fastest lap of the race now. And Urbanech has set a 1:41.970, so less fuel on board, fresher tyres. Does seem to be working quite well. Jones, great recovery, it would seem. Obviously, O'Sullivan, when he does pit, is going to come out right back into the mix of it all. But he's looking pretty good. Southcott now set the fastest lap, a 1:41.75. And at the moment, it looks like Ben Milden is able to extend the gap and is starting to pull away that little bit. Nani versus Delobra. Delobra on the offensive, looking for a way through. Let's see if we can jump on the dashboard. Absolutely fantastic sounding car. And actually we were discussing this last night in Tier 1 about saying how different cars in real life sound compared to in-game. Obviously there's only so good the in-game engine sounds can be, but I do highly recommend, if you are into GT3 racing in the esports world, I would then seriously suggest trying to find a way to go and see it. It's not too pricey, obviously it's not free, but it's very much worth going to see. Don't even worry about necessarily going to watch, you know, watch your... oh dear, there's a big moment going on there between them. We'll jump back 10 seconds. That was into the braking zone. So Delobra looked to the left-hand side, couldn't do anything, moves back to the right-hand side, gets squirrely under braking, and goes deep. That could have been a lot worse. That was some seriously heart-in-mouth stuff, that one. How Delobra managed to keep that under control, and to be fair, Nani as well, for not panicking and over-adjusting. Belshite and Chirich into the pits now. see where they end up coming out. Car number 69 of Belshite is going to be coming out right near the front of the grid. In fact, has he just taken it away from Urban Edge? He has. He has just taken away, I believe, second place on the road. What a move. He obviously just worked really, really well through that first stint. He's just timed it perfectly, so waiting for the timing board to sort his life out a little bit. Southcott is still leading, but that was a huge, huge jump up through the order. So Southcott, then Belshite, then Urban Edge, then Jones. So that has really shaken it up. I cannot believe how close that was coming out of the pits. Anderson in the pits now, so it's literally O'Sullivan and Zoricic left to complete their pit stops. And in fact, Zoricic is in, and so is Brian Anderson. So that is going to be the big one to keep an eye on. Whereabouts is Southcott? Still a fair way off. No, he's not. It's the final corner. I always get myself confused on this one. So there we go. He is now going to come along and retake pole position. Belshite pretty close as well. Car number 707 is down on the floor, and moving is Anderson going to hold on to second place? I think he is. He's coming towards that pit exit. He's going to want to try and get it done as quickly as possible, but he's not on the throttle quite yet, I don't think. Now he is. So as much as Belshite pushed, he hasn't managed to take second place. He now slots into third position. And Belshite is going to have to do something fairly serious to hold on to this one. Urban Edge out there gunning for a position. Jones as well is no slouch. Obviously our championship leader, currently running 6th on the road, 5th if you take pit stops into account. I think it's just having a quick look there. I think Chirich has done a decent drive at the moment. Finds himself in 10th place at the moment. That's a seriously good old run. He'll be pleased with that. Amazingly, it might actually start to rain a little bit less towards the end of the race. So we might see grip levels start to improve. So even though the tyres will be getting slightly older, we might start to see just the odd little minor improvement in times. Chirich will be happy with that, finding himself up into 10th place. Right, O'Sullivan still leading the race at the moment, but has not completed his pit stop. 21 minutes and change left to go. Southcott running in 2nd place, but has completed his pit stop. Then it is Anderson, then it is Belshite, and then it is Urban Edge. And then obviously have Jones as well. So the top 5 drivers that have pitted are running in fairly close quarters, apart from obviously Southcott, who is absolutely monstered away from everybody else. It's been a bit of a textbook drive from that driver this evening. Got car number 82 in the pits at the moment. Car number 82 is... Now that is Kazantis, so... I think he's 9 laps down, so I think that is simply a case of has retired to the pits but without leaving the server, so fair enough, decided to stick around rather than just abandoning it. So Delubra now on the back of Nani. This is the battle we saw going on a few laps ago. Oh, and King, after quite the recovery drive, has now picked up a drive-through penalty for track limits. And if that isn't a kick in the teeth, I don't know what is. That is devastating for him. He obviously he's pushed really hard to try and get his way back up into the points, but it was not meant to be. And he is going to find himself tumble back down the order once again. Right, Urban Edge. Still this nice little battle pack, but it is starting to feel a bit of pressure, I think, from Jones. Jones looking pretty swift back there, looking the roof towards Jones, running behind him, that number 9 Aston Martin. And he was way, way down on his lap time last time round. I think we've just seen anything change. No, we haven't. Timing ball throwing, again, lots of wobblies. It loves to throw wobblies. Looking outside, but obviously miles away. And then these two, for a brief moment, it said they were literally on top of each other, but I think that is just as they pass through Sector 1. Who has also picked up a drive-through penalty? Shackerman has picked up a drive-through penalty as well. So the Porsches really struggling with drive-through penalties this evening. So sort of in amongst this battle, there is now sort of two sub-battles going on. You've got Anderson, Belshite, and then Urbanech and Jones as well. We jump to the drone cam. You can see nearly all four of them. For a brief moment, you could see all four of them on the circuit. There we go. We can see these two little battle packs as well. Ben Milden now starting to apply pressure. Let's see if we can jump on board with that one. That appears to be closing up a little bit. So Lafloche versus Milden. Just inside the top 10. This is the battle for 7th place. So Lafloche for BF Racing AMR, and then Ben Milden for Sector Blitz Racing. Let's jump on that rear wing of the Aston Martin, kind of a 915. As you can see, the great big Mustang sneaking around behind, seeing what he can do, trying to get the traction. That was a really good exit there from Lafloche. Actually being able to extend his lead out that little bit further. I think further back as well, we've got some pretty close stuff going on. This is Nani versus Deleubre, and Nani has now picked up a drive-through penalty for track limits infringements. So for all the squabbling that's gone on, he now finds himself with a drive-through. And Deleubre also now finds himself with Zoricic right up the back of him. Piccolo just set the fastest lap of the race. He's down in 23rd place. But there we go. He now finds himself with the fastest lap. Nani still just battling it out, trying to hold on to his position. We jump to the drone cam to get a view of all three cars. Obviously, he wants to keep the position on circuit. He's looking for close racing, but it is not going to matter when he has to complete that drive-through penalty. Just under 16.5 minutes of the race left to go. So if he doesn't end up doing it within 3 laps, then he will be in serious trouble. And I believe that is a disqualification if you don't do it within 3 laps. So you can't just take it to the end and try and take a time warning. What a mistake there from Nani, but he still manages to get the exit better than Deleubre. That was insane. I have no idea how on earth he managed to still come out of that corner with more pace than Deleubre. So whether Deleubre sort of lost a bit of traction and couldn't quite get the car to lock up the way it should have done. It does look pretty unsettled here from the drone cam. You can sort of see the way the back of the car slipping and sliding around as he's trying to get the power on. Obviously, the old sort of meta used to be to run the Lamborghini with absolutely no traction control at all. But I imagine definitely a load of traction control in use this evening to try and keep that car from spitting you out all over the place around this circuit. Right, jumping back towards the front, the gaps appear to have opened up just a little bit. Anderson still holding on to it, and Belshite a little bit further back. Urbanech still running in 5th place, and Jones still running in 6th. But this little battle pack certainly haven't given up quite yet. Lafloche running in 7th place, still being followed by Milden. Then obviously we've got Mathiasen a little bit further back, closely followed by Chirich. And in fact, Chirich is currently outpacing him, not by a massive amount, but enough for it to be a worry. And in fact, Mathiasen is down half a lap on this, and Chirich is up on this lap. So whether or not we're possibly going to see the pink battle to end all the pink battles before the end of the race. But further back as well, Robert Arlabi chasing after the back of Izalovic. Schroeder as well, running in 15th place at the moment, looking to try and pull his way back up through the grids. Delobra has now finally made it past Nani as well. So we missed that one on the stream, but keeping you posted, let you know what has happened there. They have now got the pass. Robert Arlabi now finding himself in quite the dangerous sandwich. Oh, and Nani now with a stop-go 30. So that will be for speeding in the pit lane, I would imagine. So he's done his drive-through, or is it a case of he's just hasn't... Maybe it's he hasn't done his drive-through penalty, and now that has extended to a stop-go 30 penalty. So he's going to have to do that soon, because he's still out there on the circuit at the moment, hasn't pitted. As much as he might be thinking, I'm not even worried about the result, I just want clean, close racing. But it doesn't matter, he will still end up getting in trouble with the in-game stewards. Right, Anderson, car number 707, is now under attack from Belchite. Car number 14 into the pits. Southcott has already whizzed on past. These two drivers coming round. It's going to be interesting to see where O'Sullivan comes out in relation to them. He might be on the power just about in time. No, not quite. He's going to be slotting in behind them. He's going to be able to get on the power very soon. I think it's going to be around Urbanech by the time he gets his foot down. In fact, it might even be behind Jones as well, actually. He does get himself out in front of Jones. So bad news for Jones. Really not the way that Jones wants this race to go. He finds himself tumbling back down further and further in the order. And all the while, main championship rival of Southcott is absolutely monstering away with this. Big amounts of points coming away. I say Southcott obviously 61 points behind coming into this race. So don't think it's going to be quite enough. Actually, that might be. I will have to double check post-race. Not going to try and do the math now, because then it will just be absolute silence and just me doing maths. And that's not what anyone wants on stream. No one is going to enjoy just listening to me mumble and curse to myself as I try and do maths. Right, Ben Milden has caught back up with Lafloche. Obviously, it's wet out there, but nowhere near as wet as it was. You can see that there's not quite the same amount of precipitation falling from the sky. It's not completely drowning out everything. So Ben Milden still looking to try and take away 7th place before the end of the race. 11 minutes left to do it. Chirich versus Mathiasson. This battle still going on. Pink versus pink. Still, consistently, Chirich is quicker. O'Sullivan back into the pits. So what did I miss there? Why is O'Sullivan back into the pits? Was that a drive-through incident, or is he retiring from the race? Or was that a mistake on his pit stop, and so he's had to go back in? Maybe that was a mistake. Something's gone on there. I'm not entirely sure, but he's back in the pits. So after coming out just in front of Jones, he's now back into the pits and tumbling down the order. So I'm not sure what's happened there. Sullivan, it's just there. So Nani in to serve his stop-go 30. So O'Sullivan is going back out. So I wonder what happened there, because it already showed him as completing his mandatory stop. So it isn't the case that he didn't do the tyre change. He had done the tyre change, just for whatever reason he's pitted again. So yeah, not sure on that one, because it wasn't a drive-through, because he would have just kept driving on through. So I think it must have been an error in the pits. If anyone in the chat knows, yeah, you're seeing someone there said that maybe he put dries on, but his pace was pretty good on that lap, so I wouldn't have imagined it was dry tyres. maybe it was a case of hadn't put the right strategy on. It is quite easy to then have your pressures completely wrong, and maybe he was thinking it's just better to get back in the pits and keep yourself out of trouble, get those tyres sorted. 9 minutes of racing left to go, and this one is proper close now. Belshite looking for that second place over Anderson. Obviously Ferrari versus Aston Martin. Again, two very, very different cars being able to absolutely hold a candle to each other. Another little squabble going on slightly further back. We've got Urbanech still being followed by Jones. Then we've got Flosh versus Milden. That's a nice little battle going on. We've got Mathiasson versus Chirich. Lovely little battle going on. We've got Robert R. Larby being chased down by Schroeder. Oh, this is proper close stuff. And just in front of them as well, we've got Izalovic. They've got Ordelman just going to the pits for a drive-through penalty. So, with about 52 minutes of racing done, they are still so close together. There is nothing between these drivers at all. So jumping between all of these battles as quickly as we possibly can to make sure we don't miss anything. Feel free to scream at me in the chat if you notice something going on that I am missing. I'm trying to sort of scroll between all the different battles going on. I think actually Mathiasson versus Chirich is now currently our closest battle. These two have been absolutely nose to tail for lap after lap. Chirich's Porsche has been consistently quicker, but just never quick enough to find a way through. Can he do anything down into turn one? He's got a decent run here as he comes across the line. He does look to the inside a little bit under braking. Decides to not go for it though. So at the moment, it is still loggerheads with these two. Neither of them giving up, neither of them making any kinds of mistakes. And just as they make their way through the lap, it's just waiting to see what Chirich can do. At the moment, it is a case of I think Tharson is giving it absolutely everything he's got. So if there's going to be a change of position, it's going to really have to be something pretty epic by Chirich or a mistake from Mathiasson. These two just so close together. The other few of the other little battles just starting to relax a little bit, but these two are not. There is nothing between them at all at the moment. Right, let's go on the dashboard of another car, number 17, running in 9th place as they head down the back straight. He's got the speed advantage, but he's going to have to be super brave. Is he going to try and go around the outside? He did. There's a little bit of a touch between them. He's going to have to be careful not to pick up a drive-through there. There wasn't much room to try and do anything. Mathiasson trying to give him space, but wasn't able to maintain the traction at the same time. 5 3/4 minutes left now. Chirich applying the pressure and maybe hoping for a mistake from Mathiasson. But at the moment, this has been an absolute textbook battle for 8th place. It has been raging on for what feels like an eternity as well. Just realising how incredibly loud the Porsche is from inside. I wish I could drive this thing. It sounds so good. It looks so good. But lo and behold, I cannot drive it. I am awful in the Porsche, so I refuse to punish myself any further. Mathiasson actually starting to open up the gap a little bit here. Just managing to find some space. So we've got Athenstad now being chased down by Piccolo. Piccolo running in 20th place. Athenstad for Big Brain Racing. In fact, the battle at the front is seriously heating up. 4.5 minutes left for the race to go. And Belshite now on what appears to be one final big push to try and get through into pole position. A little bit deeper into the corner. Maybe going to try and go for a bit of a better exit. He does appear to carry more speed out of the corner. He's going to have to be very brave to try and make anything happen into the final turn. He can't quite do it. Anderson just driving an absolutely perfect race at the moment. He's just holding it together. I keep forgetting almost to a certain point that Southcott is even in this race, because he is in his own league. He has flown away, absolutely flying at the moment, and is absolutely blitzed away from everyone around him. So kind of a case of, we know he's in the lead and he doesn't appear to be going anywhere. So 3 3/4 minutes of the race left now. Every time I look back, it seems to be 3 3/4, at least 3/4 of a minute left. Anderson versus Belshite. This is still the big one to keep an eye on. In fact, I'm going to jump back again to the Chirich-Mathiasen battle, as they are super close as well. Back to the Belshite-Anderson battle. This really should be where the Aston should be able to maybe try and take a little bit of an advantage. You see he's deeper in, trying to get a better run on that second apex, trying to run some extra speed, but we saw what it's like to try and go side by side here. We saw it with Chirich and Mathiasen just a minute ago. It is possible, but it is super hairy stuff. And there we go. Now it's a look to the inside under braking. No, doesn't get it done. Brian Anderson just about holding on to it. He's just sticking to his racing line, trying to avoid going over defensive. Right, we're going back on board with these two. Last time round they were side by side. At the moment Chirich is still just behind, but is it going to put him in a better position to possibly try and go through here? Not this time round. Still super close between them, but possible slight overlap. Kind of a 171 forced to go a little bit defensive. Is that going to lose a load of speed? He's now a little bit wider out. Chirich does look to the inside of the funnel turn, and they both get together. They both managed to recover from it. They're going to lose a position to Vujanovic. Kind of another 2 into 1 doesn't go kind of moment. I imagine Mathiasen will think to himself, well, that was my corner to take. Chirich will think, well, I was up the inside. So that is definitely one for the stewards to try and go through. But these two putting on an incredibly close battle. Somehow neither of them fully rotating, so they actually do manage to carry on racing all the way to the end. About a minute and a half left of the race. So they should be able to finish this lap and possibly get one more out of it. But they've also now got a Mir sitting on the back of them, so if these two are squabbling it out too hard, then there is the possibility that other drivers might be able to make a way through. Back up to the second place battle. They're going to get this lap and one more. I'm just trying to see where our leader is. So Anderson still just about holding off Belshite. Very close between them. 0.3 of a second is incredibly close stuff. As they round the final corner. So they're going to get this lap, and that is probably going to be at the time we'll get to 0 before the end of the lap. And so as our leader comes across the line, Southcott, who is a whopping 15.5 seconds in front of everybody else, that is absolutely ridiculous. I feel like we may have just missed a bit of an overlap moment between these two, Chirich versus Mathiasen. Car number 14 we just seen with the yellow flag. I'm trying to work out where that car is on the grid. That is Ryan O'Sullivan, newcomer to Tier 2. Finds himself with a yellow flag. We're not going to jump back to it right now. There's too much going on the circuit live. As Mathiasen, Chirich and now Amir squabble their way round on this final lap. We go up to the drone cam. We should be able to get a shot of all the drivers. Mathiasen just able to break away that little bit that time round, but coming on to this back part of the circuit, sector 2, where the Porsche really does seem to come alive and be able to push forward. So time is at 0 on the clock, so that is the end of the race coming up pretty soon. Anderson versus Belshite. They are now flying towards the end of the back straight. Belshite will know this is his only chance to get it done. We're going to jump on board quickly with Southcott and watch him come across the line as he is rounding the final corner, and through comes Southcott with a whopping lead Absolutely fantastic drive from him this evening. Jumping back to the second place battle though. Anderson versus Belshite. Anderson just got that better run. I think he just about manages to hold on to it. And so it would be Anderson second place. Belshite in third. Then we've got Urbanech and Jones. We're going to jump back to this one. Don't think there's quite enough of too close between them to really call it there. But the Flosh currently being followed by Ben Milden. So without any issues should come across the line. And we've got Vujanovic, who gained 2 positions right near the end and takes on home 8th place. These two, Mathiasen and Chiric, have put on such a good squabble for us the entire way through the race. Absolutely fantastic all the way through that second area as well. So further down the grid, who have we still got? Oh, there's actually been an incident there. So what's happened here? That is Piccolo and I think Athenstad. Piccolo looks to the inside, nowhere to go. It does basically come to a complete stop to let Athenstad hold on to the position. So little battles going on further back still. We've got Lin, Zyle, Scheckerman and Lima. These drivers still taking it all the way to the line. And Lima, who's been a very strong racer so far this season, seriously off the pace this evening. So whether that's a case of the wet weather just not helping the GTR in any way, shape or form, it does sometimes happen. But that is most of the cars across the line now. In fact, I think it is nearly, yeah, pretty much all of them. So it's just O'Sullivan and Jokic to come across the line. So there we go. That is the end of the race this evening. We will now jump to the timetable so we can get all of the information we need as they've crossed the line. And whilst we're doing that, hopefully we might get some people in for a post race chat. Fingers crossed. Sometimes it can be a little bit nervous. Right, let's go to a slightly nicer looking screen. We'll turn off the music. We don't need the music here this evening. There is no need for it whatsoever. Right, let's have a run through the grid as it stands now. So Southcott came home in pole position. Anderson second place, Belshite third, Urbanech fourth, Jones in fifth, Flosh sixth, Ben Milden seventh, Vujanovic eighth, Mathiasen ninth, Chiric 10th, Amir in 11th, Izalovic in 12th place, Arlavi in 13th, Schroeder 14th, Azami in 15th place, Delurbre 16th, Zoricic in 17th, Skugel in 18th, Athenstad 19th, Piccolo 20th, Benjamin King 21st, Lin in 22nd, Zeal in 23rd position, 24th was Scheckerman, Lima in 25th, O'Sullivan in 26th place, Jokic in 27th, and our final card across the line this evening was Ordelman in 28th. So a bit of an out of the place grid, to be fair. Jones all the way down in 5th, Southcott up in pole position. He'll be very pleased with that. Great opportunities to try and gain a little something out of it. Let's see if anyone is feeling brave enough. Hey, we have actually got someone in there. No, we don't. No. It's looking like no one is brave enough again to join me in the Tier 2 booth, which is devastating. We need to get the Tier 2 drivers in here. It's very sad that they're not feeling that they can make their way in. It's always good for a chat. We chat with the Tier 1 guys every single time. I am always here for post-race interviews. I'm going to pester them. We have to at least get the championship winners in next time round. I think the big battle that I really enjoyed watching most this evening was the 9th place battle that it ended up being for Mathiasen and Chiric. Those two cars absolutely squabbling, you know, sort of nose to nose. It's been absolutely great to watch the whole way through. But that is the end of round 5 here at the very wet Misano. This has been Tim 360 Learn for Apex Online Racing. As always, have a look at the Discord, have a look at the website, and a big shout out to our Patreon members as well. We are back next week for 90 minutes of Indianapolis. And that is going to be on Monday at 7:30 for Tier 1, and then Tier 2 Tuesday, the Triple T at 7:30 next Tuesday as well. So do feel free to join us, and good luck with any races you may be taking part on yourselves. See you next week.